right, a very good morning, everybody, from the flight deck once again. Hello, welcome back to the live stream here with Captain Nabs, and another episode of A Pilot's Life here live on Twitch. Good morning, G Cook Scotland. Welcome to the stream, and welcome everybody for watching. And the big post, yo, welcome. We are here to do another Pilot's Life career flight in our PMDG 737. You can see it here lined up along with a whole bunch of other 737s here. And quick points to anybody who can guess which airport we're at here. Although I guess the stream really gives it away, so never mind, because if you're reading the stream title, you know what airport we're at. We're here at Portland today. Well, that was a silly contest. And today we are going to be going from... Wow, that's weird. It got really dark there all of a sudden, didn't it? We are here in Portland. I'm not giving away anything for this because that contest was rigged. The big post. Well, hello to Portland. I hope this weather representation is somewhat realistic. It's supposed to be real-time weather. We are going from Portland today down to San Francisco, KSFO. So it's a pretty straightforward flight, pretty short, not too long as far as the Pilot's Life streams go. But that's because we're kind of prepping for our next leg. So once we get this leg done, our final leg of the season will be SFO to JFK. So we're going to have to go from San Francisco all the way over to JFK. That's going to be a good... I don't even know. That's like a 4.5, 5 hour flight. As a live stream, that's going to be incredibly long because you have to add an extra half hour on either end for the flight prep and everything. Incredibly long. So I don't even know when I'm going to squeeze that in. I honestly don't. That's going to be a challenge to squeeze in, but we're going to try. I don't shy away from a challenge. So we're definitely going to get that done at some point, but I just don't know exactly when. But stay tuned to my Discord, and I will figure it out, and I will let you know. This requires a little bit more logistics and planning than usual just for the sheer length of time of this flight. But yeah, let's not worry too much about the next leg. Let's get on with this leg. In the meantime, just a quick update here on my Pilot's Life career. It's been pretty... oh, that's not what I meant to pick. Did I click on there? I meant to click on the dashboard here. It's been pretty successful. I've gotten through this almost entire season, so we're almost down to the last two here. We're getting close to our first promotion here in version 2, so all my experience points here earned in version 2. I got lots of money from version 1, but I didn't get any experience points carried over. I've gotten a whole bunch of salary credits. That's about it. $87, $103, $66. It's little bits here and there, but it slowly adds up over time. So I got about $3,700. I could definitely start looking at buying stuff in the shop, and I'm still debating what to buy. If I should buy myself some training, in situation awareness or leadership and teamwork. Those each cost $2,500. They get me an extra 0.25% bonus points. Or I could save up my money for to get a financial education for $5,000, and then that increases my income by 0.5%. I don't know which will get me kind of moving faster. I think I'm actually making a pretty good paycheck right now, so I'm kind of leaning towards the financial education. So it's kind of what I'm saving my money for. But that's another $1,500. It's going to take a while at the rate that I'm earning money to get that. But we'll see how much of a raise I get when I get my first promotion here. I think that's really the next thing that's going to happen. So I'm going to get a promotion here probably after another 5 flights, give or take. I'm going to get a promotion, and then we'll see how much money I make. $31 an hour is not terrible for a first officer. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But how much of my first promotion will get you? Anywho, yeah, let's get on with this. It got kind of weirdly dark there. They turned off all the airport lights, even though it's kind of the sun's kind of trying to come up, but it's a very cloudy, overcast, a little bit rainy day. Although I don't see too much rain on the pavement now, but it was raining like 5 minutes ago, so I don't know how it dried up so quickly. But anyways, yeah, let's get this show on the road, and then we can chat once we get in the air here. There we go. Get my flashlight going here. Let's just get some electrical power established here. Battery on, and of course the ground power is not up. Why would it be up? Why would they plug in a ground power unit? Alright, so the ground power unit is on its way. And while we're doing that, let's also just send for the fuel.
Refueling truck is on its way. Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
There. Let there be light. Alright, and now we can meet our FO. So today we got a new FO on our hands. His name is Peter. Let's start setting up. Wow, he sounded really loud to me, or is that just the way? Let me just try one test here. LNAV. I think he's coming in the wrong headset here. Hold on. Yeah, he's coming in the headset still. He needs to be on speakers. LNAV.
Checked.
There you go. That's my volume check right there. I could just say any kind of any of these FMA calls, and he will respond to me. So turn this up a little bit there. I hope that's a good balance there. Let me know if it's too loud, if the background noise is too loud, but I'm trying to find that good balance there. Yeah, so we're going to start getting set up here. He's going to do most of the work here, but the one thing I make sure I do, because he seems to always screw it up when the FO does it, is I put on the IRSs. So we'll start the IRSs aligning. Everything else is, okay, the service interphone is off. Those are on a line. EECs are engaged. Oxygen control, the whole is normal, and oxygen levels look good. I'm pretty sure he's going to come by and test us all anyways. So our primary job is to set up the MCDU and get this whole thing going for departure. I just want to have a look outside and see if the fuel truck is here yet. It is not. Hopefully it'll be here soon. Yeah, all the airport lights must have gone off just because of the time of day. That's my guess. Alright, fuel truck should be on its way. Today's flight, I believe, is 206. There it is, 206. Alright, and let's start doing this thing here. So I wanted to show you guys something neat too that I did download, and I forgot to show you guys the last 1 or 2 streams because it was kind of hectic and busy, but there's a neat little add-on here. It's a freeware add-on called SimBriefPanel. And it is literally just that. It is a panel that you can open up in your sim that has your SimBrief flight plan in it. So it gives you a quick little summary of your flight plan, including your routing, your altitude, origin, destination, that sort of thing. The payload, just so you can look at the check out the fuel and payload and everything, and Metar's tasks and everything too. Or you can just see the entire thing here. So here's your PDF version of your OFP, just sort of translated into a version that's visible in the sim. What a neat little idea, and especially for those of you that do use VR. I'm not a VR person, as you can tell. I'm a track IR person, but for those who do use it, what a great idea. Everything that you need right here. So I'm going to try using this today instead of pulling over the PDF, just to try and sort of keep everything in the sim here. So let's get this started here. So we got our ident position in NIT, and we need to set our IRS position. So we go next page to page 2. And what I should probably do here, just do this. Let me just turn up some lights here so we can actually see what I'm doing here. There we go.
Fuel truck is in position. Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck. Please use your airplane fuel system to set the desired fuel quantity.
I'm out for the walk around.
All right, thanks. Let's do it this way today. So I already preset this 14,100. Oh, I have to do it that way? Okay, I can't. Okay, never mind. Then I will just do it this way. 14,100. It's going to be our block fuel for the day, just because I already looked at it and had preset it. So there it goes. So now it's doing its thing here. And if you look on here, 13.8, so I rounded up to 14.1. All right, let's get this thing set up here. So again, page 2 of the position in NIT here. Let's just zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better what we're doing. There we go, that's nice. Get GPS position, either one will do, left or right. Go back 1 page and set the IRS, done. And now it's aligning on that position, so now we can do KPDX to KSFO. There we go. And our flight plan, our flight number here is ASA 206. My goal target takeoff time, I didn't say this at the beginning, and I don't think I even said this correctly in SimBrief, was 20 after the hour. It would have been about 35 minutes after the stream started. That's a very reasonable amount of time to get ready. Whether or not we succeed is a whole other story, but we're going to try. All right, departure. It looks like the Mini 5 departure as far as FAMIC. And that's going to be off of, I don't know. We don't have any ATC online in Portland yet today, so looks like the winds are out of the south. So kind of really splitting the difference. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, does it? Should we do 10 left? I think I did 10 left last time, but I think we'll do 10 left again for departure. I think that's the preferred departure runway if you're operating east. The other thing I can do, and actually let me see if I can do it here, is let's just pull up. Of course, I overwrote that. Of course, I did. Let's just have a look. Let's do a quick little search of KPDX and see what operations are going on there already. That's all I want to do, was just see if I can figure out. So it looks like they're actually departing west. Okay, so we'll do the west departure then. So if in doubt, I go to the real world and try and get that. I guess I could pull up the ATIS in the real world too. Would have been the other thing I could have done. So, all right. And you know what I realized? I don't even have myself up here. There I am. And I get kind of a little bit of bleed through here. For some reason, the lighting is really off today, and I don't know why. Does that make it any better? No, that really does not. What the heck? It was all right a little while ago, and now it's really kind of taken out like a whole bunch of me here. So let's just see if I can. No, that was better. As soon as I did that, that got better. Okay, that's a little better. It's a little dark, but it's good enough. You guys can see me somewhat. Some days it's really dark in this room.
The safety checks are all
Some
done.
days it's not.
Can we start boarding now?
Go for it.
Thanks.
Boarding requested.
All right, back to what we were doing here. All right, so let's go. Just do this one more time here. We're going to depart. Oh, for crying out loud! Stop moving the bloody bridge. I can hear that bloody bridge moving. Stop moving the bridge. I don't know why. I put the bridge on and then they take it off again. All right, so we're going to do a departure off of 28 left. Is going to be our departure runway today. All right, so now we've got Mini 5 to FAMIC, and then it's pretty straightforward here. We got Q3, Quebec 3, as far as found, FOWND, and then direct Milbec for the Bodega 3, MLBEC, Milbec. And we arrive on the Bodega 3 to San Francisco. The estimate is 28 left, so we'll put in the ILS for 28 left right now. If something changes, we'll deal with it. Bodega 3, Milbec transition. Go back to the route page. There it is, direct Milbec, Milbec Bodega 3, direct Eddy, and ILS 28 left. Let's activate and execute that one, and go right onto our perf and net page here. So ZFW estimate today is 125.2. I do like this SimBrief panel. It's actually nice to have it kind of built into the sim. I can click in the sim and it doesn't hide my PDF, which is really kind of nice. So the planned fuel is 14.2. That's what we got already loaded. Reserves, final reserve plus alternate 49.43. So we'll just round it up to an even 5. And cost index 5. We can probably bump that up if we needed to. Altitude's 35,000. And the cruise wind 332 at 81. Execute all that performance data. Transition altitude standard at 18,000. That's fine. N1. And again, still waiting for this EFB. Come on, PMDG. It's like it's the last thing you really need to kind of really polish off these airplanes and make it feel like they're done at long last, is to get that EFB in there. But we don't have it, so I'm going to go ahead and get my 737NG performance going on here. KPDX. We'll do 28 left for departures. Intersection, no. I'm going to go wet runway today. Wind 1805. Outside air temperature is balmy 4 degrees. Unable 208 knots, Johnny, thanks. 3016, probably because we got such a low cruise cost index. We're probably going to do a really low speed. All right, we're going to do anti-ice engine for takeoff, and air conditioning on. Let's see if we can do takeoff 2. Takeoff weight. Let's go back to init here. Our gross weight 139,400. 139,400. Let's see if it'll give me some numbers for that. Weight seems to be too high for takeoff 2. Let's do takeoff 1. Takeoff 1 we can do. Alright, so it says we can do takeoff 1 with a D rate of 38 degrees. And then this is with a flap 5 takeoff. Load the CFG of 25.5 and 36, 37, 44. Pretty close. Actually, let's do this. If I do wet, it'll probably be more. 29, 37.
I'm back. No issues on the walk
A
around.
little bit low, but anyways. I'm going to go with the ones from the FMS here. I got 35, 43, 49, so. Anywho, that's close enough for now. All right, and we got everything set up. Everybody's boarding. This guy's doing his flow, and I'm just going to also flow through and make sure he's done everything correctly, because as we found in the past, sometimes the FS2 crew makes mistakes. It's normal. Go ahead and start the APU. Actually, we're done fueling. Let's just make sure. Fuel truck is gone. Yeah, the fuel truck's gone. Okay, just wanted to make sure. We start the APU. Some aircraft have a prohibition on starting the APU. I don't know if the 737 actually has it, but a lot of aircraft have a prohibition on starting the APU when the fuel truck is connected. So when fueling is done, we can go ahead and put the seatbelts on. Window heat's on, probe heat's off, anti-ice all off right now. Hydraulics are all set. Test the CDR. Good. Alright, and we're also going to get some warmth going on these ducts here. Right now, the flight attendants in real life would have complained that it's 40 degrees, 45 degrees Fahrenheit in the cabin. The flight deck is about the same. Aft cabins is, I'm sorry, no, that's the duct supply. It's even colder in the cabin. Cabins are below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Airplane's been sitting all night. I should have fired up the APU when we first sat down. In reality, most airports, they usually give you ground air, too. That's the other thing, too. They give you ground air. And you wouldn't have to worry about this sort of thing. But, you know, whatever. All right, let's just get some information about the departure here so we can set up our guidance panel. All right, open chart.
Hi, here's the fuel slip.
Thanks.
Welcome. Have a nice flight.
I don't see a top altitude published on this. I'm going to put 7,000 will get us up close to the MSAs here, so that'll be a good initial climb altitude, because I don't see a climb altitude, unless I'm blind. Am I blind? Portland does not seem to have initial climb altitude. It must be given as part of the clearance. Some places it is, and that's the funny thing about America too. It's very inconsistent. Some places have top altitudes on SID, some places don't. Very kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody sort of does their own thing, which can be very annoying. It's so much easier when things are standardized from place to place. Yes, not every place is exactly the same, and there are different situations, but still, it's easier when things are similar at least. All right, so climb on heading 283. Alright, looks like our FMSs are all fully aligned, so we should be able to get LNAV and VNAV in there. Make it easy, like it. And one thing I'm going to do as well here is I'm going to adjust this, because the acceleration and thrust reduction at 1,000 or 1,500 feet is a little high these days. So we're going to do both at 1,000. Seems to be the new kind of standard. Most airlines are going that way. Alright, flight directors are on. That is a lot of testing. All right. Engine quantities look good. Hydraulic quantities look good. TO. Get the APU up and running. Probably turn these DUs down a little bit right now for the nighttime departure. Background light. I hate background lighting. And I think we got it all good there. That's better. Turn that down just a hair. Alright, let's just get the brakes on. I don't think I ever heard him do the fire test. Alright. Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation transfer and display switches. Normal auto. Windows heat. On. Pressurization mode selector. Auto. Flight instruments.
Heading 194. Altimeter 3016.
Heading 194. Altimeter 3016. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start lever.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist completed.
Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
Alright, so we still got no ATC online.
Checked.
I'm going to mute you now. So we're going to taxi out today at Portland on flight 10-9. And we're going to taxi for departure runway 28 left. We're parked here in the in between the two concourses here, so we're going to have to go out around here and down Bravo all the way to depart runway 28 left. Lots of notes on here, mostly for wingspans greater than 118 feet. Yeah, and we are under that 118 feet. The 737 and 320 fit nicely underneath that. Yeah, so we'll taxi out. The only hotspot here, hotspot 1, limited wingtip clearance for taxiway convergence point. Okay, so we just got to be careful there. There's not too many other people online right now or taxiing around in Portland, unless you guys want to join me, which feel free. It's not a very long flight. It's a pretty easy commitment, but yeah. We're going to be doing the Mini 5 departure today on plate 10-3 Charlie. Let's see here. Standard nose, DDI, GPS required, RNAV1, radar, non-GPS equipped aircraft, and turbojets only. And the initial climb is climb heading, let's see here, we're doing 28 left. Climb heading 283 to 540 feet, then direct peg T, then undepicted route. So 540 feet, then direct peg T. Then it's Kelly, Dudry, Mini, and off on our transition of FAMUC. So that's all in there, and it does all look pretty good in here as well. Yeah, just sort of a left turn, then towards FAMUC. Perfect. All right, terrain around here. There is higher terrain. It's more to the north and east, but we are in a mountainous area here, so we will make sure we have the terrain on for departure, help mitigate that risk. And as long as we follow the SID, it should keep us clear of all terrain in our particular sector. Starts at 3,700. Eventually, once we get out of the MSA, it's up to about 6,000. I expect we'll be able to make that climb pretty easily. If we have an engine failure, we may have to consider staying within the MSA and circling around the land pretty quickly. Weather, it's raining, so we got wet numbers. We're going to have the anti-ice on for departure because it's only 4 degrees, the engine anti-ice anyways, and operational, so no MELs. The only thing I need to look at, of course, is my flight plan to see if there's any NOTAMs. I should have asked before I started this if you guys want to see any MELs. We should MEL any broken equipment, so maybe next time we'll plan to have an MEL right at the get-go, just to make things interesting again. I just like to try and kind of increase the excitement, interest. All right, so the runways for Portland are going to be closed later today. Actually, that's tomorrow, Wednesday. Let's see here. Declared distance 28 left. I don't see too much for 28 left. Mini 5 departure. Takeoff obstacles 28 right. Approach procedures. We're not planning on coming back right now. Just a quick look, just in case we do have to come back. Anything for the 28s, anything crazy show-stopping if we do have an engine failure or something. Nope, nothing. Okay. And we do have a pretty good complement of viewers today. We're up to about 8. Well, now we're down to 6 again. If we get up to 10, point it out to me, guys, and I will go ahead and turn those failures on. They should be on with just system-based failures, but I will turn on and turn up the rate of random failures. Let's just go ahead and have a quick update here. So service-based failures are on. Yes, random failures are not on right now. But like I said, if I can get more than 10 guys watching here, 10 people watching, I will start turning on failures. We'll see if we can't fail something on the way to San Francisco and deal with it. But that's all I've got for the briefing. Any questions?
Checked.
Any questions?
No questions.
All right, so it should be just about done loading here. Yeah, it looks like GSX is done loading here. Boarding is completed. Prepare for pushback and departure. I'm just going to accelerate the FS2 crew a little bit, and we're doing well.
Due to icing conditions, please stand by until push is completed.
Hi guys,
and
all
brakes are set.
passengers are on board. Are we clear to close?
Thanks. It will be a long taxi.
Thanks. Let me know if you need it.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
All right. You're good to close. You going to pull the jet bridge off? Or do I have to make you do it? All right, I guess I'm going to have to do it here. There it goes.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
All right. First of all, right from the flight deck, you're going to take away ground power. Actions, ground services. And yeah, brakes are set. Communicate check brakes are set. All right, so you can take away the chocks, you take away the ground power. All right, now we're good to go here. Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and
Locking
locked.
gear.
MCP.
Speed 144, heading 283, altitude 7,000. Altitude 7,000.
Takeoff speeds.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now commence the safety demonstration. Each aircraft may be different, so we'd appreciate your attention to the TV monitor closely.
Release
V1
parking
129,
brakes.
VR 137, V2 144.
CDU pre-flight.
Just stand by, guys. Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Release parking brakes.
Completed.
Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist completed.
All right. Anybody else back there? Nobody there.
Checked.
Ramp from the flight deck. Brakes are off, ready for pushback. We'll delay the engine start to advise.
Commencing push. Due to icing conditions,
Engine
please
anti-ice
stand
is
by
on.
until push is completed and brakes are set.
Turn that on yet. Let's start the engines first. All right. They said it's slippery out there. Again, this to me is GSX scripting. It's good, but you can push an aircraft back in icy conditions without having to wait for engine start. Really, it's all about the surface friction. So icy conditions, but if the pavement's dry, really, even if the pavement's wet, depending on how it is. Like at most airports, the pavement usually does not freeze right away. There's so much chemicals been spread on it over the years. The pavement does not freeze, becomes slippery right away. Usually it's amounts of snow that start to worry you. When you start to have a couple of inches of snow on the pavement, that's when you start to worry. That's when you want to hold off on the engine start. Start sequence is 1, then 2.
Check.
Start engine 1.
Starting engine 1.
And once again, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this guy is going to turn the packs back on at the appropriate time.
Oil pressure.
Just as we're even pushing back here at the gate, I'm thinking about my my FS2 crew pack, and I had mentioned this before, and it is a work in progress now. So I have made recordings for FS2 crew.
Set parking brakes.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
So I'm going to have my own FS2 crew. I guess the house is not going to be field for fire. I'm going to have my own FS2 crew voice pack, which I did record for the most part, but I do need to do a little bit of trimming, editing, and there's a couple files I would like to re-record that hopefully I can make it sound about the same. The trouble with the whole process is that, first of all, there's about 800 voice files for the 737, so it takes a long time to record it. And then if you try to record it in a different location, there's a good chance it'll sound different. So I may have to re-record part or all of it, which would be very annoying because it took a long time. It took about 3 hours to record these 800 voice files. But I did fly around with it the other night, and it was mostly pretty good. I have to say, it sounded really quite realistic.
Number 1 stable.
Start engine 2.
Starting engine 2.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
Oil pressure. Starter cutout. Number 2 stable.
Flaps 5. Flight control check.
Ready.
Full left. Full right. Center. Full up. Full down. Center. Rudder.
Checked.
Full left. Full right. Center. Flight control check complete. Before taxi checklist.
Standby.
Not sure what he's doing, but anyways. All right, we're just about ready to go. I see actually there's a bunch of you guys that are actually doing the same flight here, so thanks very much for participating. It's always more fun with more of us. Before taxi checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Cancel checklist.
Roger.
Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators. On. Probe heat. On. Anti-ice. Off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake. RTO. Engine start lever.
Idle detent.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Clear. Before taxi checklist completed.
Portland traffic, Alaska 206 is on taxi lane Charlie will be taxi Bravo for departure runway 28 left. Alright, let me know if that's too loud. It sounds a little loud in my headset. I turned my headset up a little bit, so let me know if it's too loud, if the voice, or if the noise makes it too hard to hear what I'm saying. And Kyle J. Tam, hey Rob, happy to join the flight and the stream today. Yeah, Kyle, I saw you there. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I hope I'm not going too quickly for you guys here. We've had enough time to get yourselves ready. And I don't even see where you are there, so let me just have a quick look here. So let's see, you are in a United 319, and somebody else is in a Alaska 320, so I gotta keep an eye out for both of you here. And I think I might have that on the wrong. I think I have my output on the wrong thing here. Yeah, that's why. I heard it, but it's not on the same output as my stream here, so there you go. Alright, that should work now. Now the VATSIM audio should come in there. So yeah, I did hear you, but I just didn't have it on the correct output device. It was going straight to my headset instead of going through my monitor device. So. Taxi light on. Set taxi light on.
Taxi light on.
Alright, there you are. I see. Oh no, that's sorry. That's because that's Alaska. There you are. Trying to taxi here while looking around the airport. I should probably focus on what I'm doing here, but anyway. I have no doubt we'll see you momentarily. Good. I'm glad you guys got going about the same time. It's always fun to have multiple flight streams, and I can't remember the last time I did it. And also the other beauty of this too is that it gives the controllers a bit more reason to come down. One flight flying to an airport doesn't usually kind of get people going, but if you get a handful of flights going to the same airport, it just, you know, controllers look at it like, oh, there's actually some stuff happening. They're more likely to log in and actually control for us. So it might be a little bit late for the Portland end here, but certainly we'll keep our fingers crossed that maybe something will happen at the San Francisco end. Early in the day for the West Coast too. I mean, it is early. I almost do want background lighting, and I hate background lighting really, but just a little bit of background lighting. One day I will fly the Airbus on stream too. If I can get my computer's performance upgraded just a little bit here, and that's all I want to do. I just want to get it. The Phoenix is fantastic as a model. I think it is probably the ultimate realistic simulated aircraft for MSFS, more so than the 737. The 737 is good. Don't get me wrong; it's really quite good. But I think the Phoenix just crossed a whole other line, and maybe it's just because the Airbus itself is such a complicated animal, so complicated to try and figure out. The 737, it really is all about the systems working together with the Airbus. It's all about the computers working together. So it's a very different animal. I think it's probably a little bit more realistic than the 737. Maybe that's just me. There's still a few things that bug me about the 737, and that RADALT indication is one of them. I've always wondered. So here's hotspot 1, where the taxiways kind of come together, and they talk about lack of wingtip clearance on these parallel taxiways. Which, yeah, that one just sort of veers this way. So at some point, you're going to scrape paint with the guy next to you if you're not careful. Alright, one thing I should probably do before we actually get going here as well is just check and make sure this is tracking the server connected to okay, flights have been connected first, flight stage taxi out. It does know what we're doing. Good. I have had that once or twice where it did not start the tracking correctly, and boy is that annoying. You get all the way to your destination and realize that it's not tracking correctly. Never good thing. Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 5, green light.
Stabilizer trim.
.8 units.
Before takeoff checklist completed.
Alright, coming up to the end. Alright, we got a little wagon train going here. Perfect. Portland traffic, Alaska 206, take position, runway 28 left for departure, Mini 5 departure southbound. Runway entry procedure.
Okay. Cabin crew, take your seats. Clear on the approach.
Clear left.
Cabin is still not secure. Clear right.
The cabin's still not secure. I would call it at this point. Bing bong. Can't forget to call me. Alright. Alright, cabin is apparently secure. Throttles armed.
Checked.
Takeoff.
Thrust set. $80 knots. V1. Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up. $400 feet.
ENAV speed.
Checked.
N1.
Checked.
Command A.
Autopilot on. Checked.
We're going to do regret for the engine anti-ice on. Portland traffic, Alaska 206 is airborne, off runway 28 left on 25 departure. Flaps 1,
Speed checked.
flaps up.
Speed checked. Flaps up set.
After takeoff checklist.
Standby.
I just want to make sure you guys can hear that FS2 stuff. It seems like it's quiet relative to the aircraft now. Alright, accelerated. After takeoff checklist.
After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds on. Backs. Auto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No lights. After takeoff checklist complete.
Roger.
Happy to release the cabin crew? Checked.
No thanks.
Okay.
We'll hold off on the cabin crew till we get out of this cloud deck here. It's probably going to be pretty bumpy. I don't think it's going to move around. MS2 crews are very eager to release those cabin crew, but most of the airlines I've worked at, it's a pretty strict criteria of 10,000 feet. Unless it's an extremely short leg, sometimes the captain gets discretion to release a little earlier. Most airlines, certainly this is a 2-hour, hour and 45-minute leg. Yeah, there's no need to release the cabin crew before 10,000 feet, and especially given kind of the convective looking clouds, these clouds do not look smooth. I would not want to have anybody up walking around in this at all, cabin crew or otherwise. Just have to wait a little bit until it is safe to get up and move around. And yeah, we're going to break out the top here shortly. Get a little bit of rain out there. What we got for a TAT right now? Yeah, -2, yeah. Probably start freezing any second now. Hopefully you can see a little bit of the wingtip out there. If you see any ice forming on there, you can always just go ahead and continue wing anti-ice on as well. Alright, let's go ahead and set ourselves up for our cruise here. 36,000, I believe. That's what we set? Yeah. 35,000 actually. So breaking up the tops nicely here. Or are we just sort of, no, actually we're stuck in a kind of a weird blue colored cloud. I was thinking about that was blue sky, but it's just blue, weird blue cloud.
10,000.
We're going to be at the top any second. Here it comes. Alright, so lights off. You know what he never did?
Happy to release the cabin?
Turn off those switches. Hold on just like another minute here. Let's just get climbing just a
Ladies
little
and
higher.
gentlemen, our complimentary in-flight entertainment system contains a great selection of movies and TV programs. There is also a dedicated children's channel. All entertainment shortly and will be available until we arrive at the gate. The complete selection of entertainment available is detailed in the
Alright, so we got through 10,000. So, lights are off. Do a quick pressure check here. So, pressure's climbing at 500 feet per minute. Difference is 4.2, yeah. Packs are auto. Lights are on, so it should be working. Go for it.
Okay.
Alright, so now they're released, and 21.5 should be up on number 2 for guard. There we go. And we're all set. We're on our way. I can't hear you guys anymore on Unicom. I am on Unicom, right? I heard one call there from, I think it was from United when he was taxing out, but I don't hear anybody anymore, so I hope I've got everything set up correctly here. Make sure I'm listening on both COM 1 and COM 2. So you guys are both airborne, but I just didn't hear any more calls. I'm not trying to be a critic or anything, I just didn't hear any calls. Oh well. Let's see. It's back to map mode, which, sorry, plan mode. Can I see traffic on there? There's Portland. No, not showing any traffic on there. I don't have traffic turned on, that's why. There you guys are. Show it to me on this mode here. You guys are back there somewhere, I'm sure. Ah, well. Anyways, we're on our way to sunny San Francisco. It's a little bit cloudy up here in Portland, but it should be good when we get to San Francisco. We can probably shut off the wing anti-ice now. And I would say, yeah, we can turn off the engine anti-ice as well. Got good use out of those. Everything seems to be working well. And we're on our way. So, yeah, thanks, guys, for joining me on this flight today. I can't remember the last time we actually did a group flight, because I always end up doing these on weekdays, and it's not the best day, I know, to be streaming. I know a lot of guys, especially mornings, which is basically the time I have available. So I know a lot of people, it's work time. You know, it is what it is, and I understand that. 100% I understand that. But it's, yeah, it's not work time for me, so it's the best time I have to stream. You know, and that's why I like to put my streams up on YouTube after the fact, too, so that for those people who can't join me live during the stream, you can always join me after. I can't see what's said there. I think your mic volume might be a bit low, having some trouble hearing you. Now, are you having trouble hearing me on stream or just on the what am I trying to say here, or just through VATSIM? So what I'll do is I'll turn the background volume down a little bit, as well as turning myself up a little bit here. Turn my mic up a little bit, turn my sim volume down a little bit, and I'm also just going to check and see what it looks like here in the audio from VATSIM settings here. And it seems like it's just the stream VATSIM was okay. Okay, that I won't tweak those settings. Yeah, and I've had people say that to me before, but I find like I've been looking at it, and I found that I'm overmodulating my voice a little bit. Transition set standard.
Standard set. Passing flight level 184.
I found that
Now.
There it is. I found that like if I turn the volume up much louder, though, I find it overmodulates my voice. I don't know if it's the mic is quiet or what it is, but I found that if I turn it up much louder, it seems to overmodulate during the when I'm processing the stream. So I'm trying to find that like happy medium where it's loud enough that you guys can hear me, and I don't want you to not hear me, obviously, but you know, it's not cutting off at the high end or anything. So I'm kind of keeping one eye down there on my levels to try and make sure it's all staying kosher and hopefully consistent between everything. But yeah, we're underway. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day when we get down to San Francisco. It's really not that far. It's only what, like 300 miles here. How far have we got here left to go? It's not that much, 500 miles, but it doesn't take very long to cover that in a jet, even at cost index number 6. We're going to have 6.9 fuel left when we get there. I might bump it up a little bit here. Let's just go to the index perf, and what if we bumped it up to like 25, which is a substantial bump. And that only seems to take the fuel down 6.8. It might still be recalculating. Not even 280 knots at Johnny. 6.8. That cost me 100 to bring it up on 25. So let's just do one more even. Make sure we get there on time. Let's go cost index 50. In reality, in most airlines, you probably won't mess with the cost index too much. If the company gives you a cost index, it's because they figured out that this is the best way for them to make money. And as a general rule, as an employee of an airline, you want the airline to make money too. Let's see here. So that's 6.7, 1546. You want the airline to make money too. You don't want the airline to lose money. You want the airline to make money as well. So yeah, you want to try and kind of hold the line as much as possible, and fly the way the airline tells you to. If they think that a route is worth flying faster, they'll tell you. Certain high density routes, with a lot of high end clientele, may want to go a little faster. The flights to New York, for example, often a lot of high end clientele go in there. They tend to fly faster, whereas some of the more the quieter secondary, tertiary routes, they may prefer to fly a lower cost index because the only way they can sell tickets from some of these secondary cities is perhaps at a lower price. So there's not as big a market, or perhaps it's a very competitive market and they need to save money in certain markets. But oftentimes it's all about time too. People looking at why does it take Delta 15 minutes longer to get there than United or vice versa? So most of the airlines end up kind of all doing the same thing because they're trying to compete with each other and they're all trying to reach that same level. One thing I will say as well, and this is something I just wanted to really say and get it out there because I really am so happy about this with Sim Update 12 there that dropped last week or the week before. Wow, the load times of the sim have improved substantially. I've got to say, I am super impressed with how fast the sim can load now. I had enough add-ons that it was often I'd start the sim and I'd walk away. I would start the executable and I would just walk away and come back in like 10 minutes. I go get my cup of coffee, go play with the dog for 10 minutes, come back, and the sim might be loaded. 10 minutes, I never actually timed it, but it felt like it was about 10 minutes was kind of the average. 8 to 10 minutes is the average to load the sim, and we're down to like less than 2 minutes now. The sim will load in less than 2 minutes, and you'll be at the main menu in less than 2 minutes, which is just great. That's the way it should be. With 10 minutes, it's like if something screws up in the startup process, if I forget to run something or something's not updated, when it takes 10 minutes to restart the sim, restarting the sim is just not an option. That's 10 minutes that I'm not going to redo it. It'll probably cut into my simming time too much, and I probably will not restart the sim. So if I forget to update the Navigraph database, or for example, I just noticed this today on my Parallel 42 flow menu here, you'll notice a little exclamation mark there. I have not updated it since Sim Update 12 came out, so they want me to do the update to ensure that it's working correctly. I almost thought about doing it before the stream, and I said I'll just defer it until after the stream, but I can think about it now. It's nice that you have that ability. I love the fact the sim loads in a reasonable amount of time. So if you forget something or screw something up, forget to load some software, you can reload the sim in a very reasonable amount of time. And that's just a wonderful thing, because boy, it was starting to take a real long time to load the sim. I will admit, I have a lot of add-ons. I have a whole bunch of airplanes. I have tons of airports, some freeware, a lot of payware. But I have lots of add-ons in there, so I realized I was probably doing it to myself, but I want those add-ons in there. I don't want to live in the sterile default world. It's just not good enough in most places. The places where they did do some extra detail on the airports, okay, they look pretty good. I flew out of Iqaluit the other day, and I got to say, like, that's a default airport, but it's an improved default airport, customized default airport. It's pretty darn good. It looks pretty reasonably realistic, as opposed to, like just a auto-generated, here's some generic buildings of the correct shape. It definitely looks better when you've got these higher end detailed scenery. So I'm not going to get rid of them, but I'm glad the sim suddenly they've managed to find a way to make it load so much faster, so much more. It's just nice to be able to be in the sim in a couple minutes. If you want to do a flight, you don't have to think about it 10-15 minutes in advance and say, okay, I'm going to go start the sim now, and then I'll come back and do the flight. You can start it, and by the time you pretty much file the flight plan and everything, crunch your numbers, the sim is running. It's ready to go. Thank goodness for that. That was one of the nicest things I thought that happened recently. What a difference it makes. If you forget to do something, you can restart the sim, and it's not like the end of the world. It's not like you go have lunch and come back and the sim's finally running. It's like, okay, I can do this in the time we have. I'm liking this tailwind here. We got 100 knots almost straight behind us. This is going to be a short flight today. I didn't realize it was going to be this short, but the wind is just flowing right down the west coast here. I was actually looking at it just when I was setting up the flight plan here. Where is it here? There. Significant weather. Here's the jet stream. just right down the coast, right behind us the whole way. How fantastic is that? And who likes the smaller map here on SimBrief? Because I suggested that. I said it was just a little bit too big, taking up a little bit too much space, so I suggested it. That's why there's now, oh, not that. That's why there's now a switch here to go from small map to large map. I made the suggestion that they take away the large map on this side and kind of share some more of the space again with the flight planning. And they liked that idea. And then the other suggestion I made too was that when they had this in here, they had put the map at the very bottom, and I said, hey, why don't you put the map right above the let's go to the edit flight page, but on this page here, the map was down near the bottom, and I said, why don't you put it right above the route section, because that's the part that the map really is kind of counting against, and you're kind of comparing the two, so it'd be good to have them right next to each other. So I have to say, I love the fact that SimBrief as well is very, they're still very responsive. They're still very responsive. They still, you know, they're still taking feedback. This new system, they're not set in stone on everything. They are happy to take feedback on the new system and try and tweak it and improve it as necessary. So it's good to see that they're doing that. And I've had a few suggestions. I don't think I was the only one, but I suggested that, yeah, you should have direct links to all the charts next to your airports. It's like, you know, if this is all an integrated system, you know, Navigraph and SimBrief can work hand in hand, especially for subscribers. How about we just have, oh, let's go to the arrival airport. Boom. Click one button, and I'm loading up the arrival airport charts in my Navigraph browser window. Things like that. I suggested that on the flight page here, when an aircraft type comes up, you watch in a couple days or weeks perhaps, when you select an aircraft type, it's going to give you the relative accuracy of the aircraft's performance when you select an aircraft type. So you select 737-800, it's going to say accuracy high. You select TBM 900, accuracy fair, or whatever rating they've got. You know, they've got ratings for all these things. I think it's I'm really starting to like this improvement here. It's really nice too that it does work a lot better from a mobile standpoint. So it really is kind of designed to flow and be able to be used on a mobile device, and it is a lot easier to use SimBrief now on a mobile device thanks to this. There's a few things that don't work well on the mobile device. Some of these drop-down windows where you can type in stuff as well, mobile devices don't really like that. You know, they don't know when you're tapping it if you're trying to tap the drop-down box to get these things, or if you're trying to put an input in there. Those things are still not great on the mobile device, but overall it definitely is a lot nicer to use. I definitely am liking the improvements here. It's definitely getting better. I'm really starting to like all these improvements now. And the one thing I did want to talk about too, when you just go and look at SimBrief here, and if I can see the system status page, it blows my mind. It blows my mind just to see my own personal status here, like how many flight plans I file per day. Like sometimes 6 flights in a day. We're getting there. Sometimes I'll file 6 flight plans in a day, and oftentimes it's not 6 flight plans filed, but I'll be like, you know, I'll create a flight plan, then I'll tweak one thing, and I'll generate a second flight plan. I'll tweak the load or the route or something, and I'll load a second flight plan. So, but you know, across 30 days here, I filed 2, 6, 12, 13. 17, 22, 24, 27. I filed probably, looking at this here, I probably filed about 40 flight plans in the past 30 days, created 40 flight plans. So I've certainly made good use of this system. But it's one thing for me to do that. It's another thing to look at what everybody has done here. So I love the system status page, but it just blows me away. And this is going to be a little bit of an outlier too, because in the last week, of course, we had Cross the Pond, and we'll talk about that later. But flight plans generated in the past week, 462,000 flight plans were made in the past week. Roger. Even just in the last 24 hours, 60,000 flight plans. There's been almost 70 million flight plans made. But like every week, 500,000 flight plans. Now, this is probably an outlier. This is probably an outlier because this week was Cross the Pond, so it's probably more flight plans than usually being generated. But still, the popularity of this system. User statistics. The number of new users in the past 24 hours, 400. Number of users online in the past 24 hours, 35,000 users in the past week. 90,000 people have made use of this. 90,000 different individual users. Like, and this is not a system where people are probably gaming the system too much. Be like, well, I'm going to have 4 different accounts so that they don't see how much I'm using the system. They don't charge you for the system. They don't charge you for a flight plan. Most of these are probably individuals, so you're talking 90,000 different people have used this system. Like, that is a lot of people. This hobby has really grown in the age of MSFS. and SimBrief, I think, is an excellent barometer of that. It's a very realistic system, but even it's great. It's user-friendly for even, I hate to use the word amateurs, but certainly rookies at the flight simulation hobby. It's a great system even for rookies. So just to see the numbers here, it just blows me away. In the past month, 145,000 unique users online on the SimBrief system. I hate total users numbers because sometimes people will forget accounts and will create new accounts. You know, people will use the system once, but certainly users online the past day, week, month, those are some, I think, very realistic, reasonable, accurate statistics. There's some interesting patterns too when you start to look at this map of all the flights that have been generated. I think this is the past. It used to be 24 hours, but maybe it's only 5 minutes now. 275 flight plans generated in the past 5 minutes. Maybe that's what this map is. But it's funny how there's certain corridors that are very popular, and this Chicago to Florida, Chicago to Miami corridor is pretty popular. Chicago out to the West Coast, lots of stuff in and out of LAX, lots of stuff in and out of New York. New York over to various overseas European destinations. Holy moly. It's just something to look at these lines here and just sort of read into where people are flying and what they're flying. It really is kind of neat. And even the supported aircraft types and the types that are being commonly used, there's a few types that just dominate the whole thing, and it really is the narrow bodies because they're the only good ones right now for MSFS. Like between the 320 and the 737, 20, 40, over 50% of the flight plans, probably close to 55 to 60% of the flight plans are being made for 4 different aircraft types, and then the next ones up are just insignificant by comparison. The 330, 300, and then you even got another 737. The 310, it was riding high for a little while. Even the Citation 700 was riding high for a while. Now it's kind of fallen off the wagon here. And you go to the bottom end, and you don't have too many people flying these bottom end ones here. But anyways, I'm always impressed by the statistics with SimBrief because I think it's an excellent barometer of this hobby. And if you take this as a barometer of the hobby's doing well. There's tons of people online. It's getting a lot of traction. A lot of people are flying a lot, and we are going to be starting down here in like ridiculously short amount of time. This is going to be a very quick flight to San Francisco today. This is why it was filed at cost index 5. File at cost index 5 because that's all we can do. All right, let's see here. So I'm already going to start just setting up here because this is sneaking up on us really quickly here. Our top of descent is estimated to be 31 minutes away. It's really not that far in the grand scheme of things. So let's get this underway here. All right, so no ATC online, no shock there. Let's see here. So San Francisco. So what I'll do, because I got this app on my phone a while back, and I don't really use it very much anymore. But let's get the real world ATIS. Show me SFO. All right. So it's 6 degrees, 3021. It's kind of a cool morning in San Francisco. Simultaneous charted visual flight procedures in use. Landings 28 left and 28 right. Departing 28 left and 28 right. 1 right, 19 left closed. 1 left, 19 right closed. Alright, so 28 left. Charted visual procedures are in use. So that's the preferred approach here. So let's just have a quick look at the charted visuals. 28 left or 28 right, take your pick. I usually do the approach to 28 left. I'm kind of interested to do 28 right for change. Let's have a look at both charts and just see what we got here. So, tiptoe visual, it doesn't really matter anyways. The quiet visual or the tiptoe visual, they both build off the ILS. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the Milbeck arrival takes us right over the top. This is the one that takes us, or not the Milbeck, but the Bodega arrival takes us right over the top of San Francisco and brings us in from the south. Yeah, we go right over the head the airport, then we get on a downwind and get brought back around, which is what we're going to do. We're going to fly it that way unless we can get some NorCal control online, which I'm not really expecting to do that. So I think we'll plan to land today on 28 left. Just because I always seem to land on 28 right. And let's see, anybody else hanging out in San Francisco today? There's a couple of departures from San Francisco. Or should we stick to 28 right, because most of the departures seem to happen from 28 left. Yeah, you know what? No, we'll stick to 28 right, just because there's a couple guys on the ground that might depart. Easier separation, so we'll do the arrival of 28 right, and we'll hold short 28 left initially. Yeah, we'll stick with 28 right. Now I can't remember if I did 28 right or if I did 28 left. All right, I did 28 right. So we're going to do the eddy transition to 28 right, and then we're going to modify it as necessary. So first, let's just check over everything here in the star. No, not there, there. First, we're just going to check through the star. Make sure all the fixes are in there correctly, and then we'll make sure that we've got the visual set up here. So we got Millbeck above 290, Johnny 280 between 28 and 24. Bigelow, 280, 23 to 19. Lozit, 280, below 16,000. And then Bodega below 13,000. Cork, 250 knots at 11,000. Bricks at 11,000. Then we continue on the Vector 140 track around towards Eddy. And that's how we're going to set ourselves up for... Pretty sure the Quiet Bridge visual is the one that we do... I think the tiptoe visual is the nighttime one, and I think the quiet bridge visual is just the daytime one, I believe. So we're going to set up a quiet bridge visual to runway 28 right. So we do Eddy, Sidby. After Sidby, fly 330 heading to intercept the SFO 095 radial inbound. 330 heading and intercept that radial inbound 095. So we've got to have 15.8. And the other thing we can also do as well is throw some fix info on here. So if we do fix info from SFO, radial, so let's see here. So outbound, so inbound is 275, so the outbound would be 095. And then I want a DME at 10 and a DME at 6. And 6 is where we're supposed to sidestep over onto the ILS for 28 right, which is 111.7. See if we can fly this accurately today. And my FOs help to swap frequencies at the appropriate times to get on course here. All right. And it is VMC. Yeah, it's 10 miles, 25,000. So it's VMC in San Francisco. So I think we got all that. Let's just make sure we've got the... So we'll leave the legs in here, but what we'll do is after Sidby, we'll fly it as is published here. 330 heading, intercept this radial inbound, and then fly that radial inbound till we get to 6 DME, then sidestep over to the ILS for the approach, or we can just do a visual maneuver at that point. 28 right, and let's just do a landing data for flaps 30, 143. It's a pretty long runway, it should be good. Again, really want this EFB here so I can crunch these landing numbers correctly. So what I haven't been doing this one, unfortunately, and I've been trying to do it lately and I have not done a good job, is I have not done a position check here. So I should have done it when I leveled off initially. I was too busy yakking. All right, let's do it here. All right, so here's my flight plan. So we crossed Firefly at 1457. So let's do it in blue, just 'cause it's easier to see. Firefly, we crossed it at 1457, and we had 9.4. So the fuel was good over Firefly. And then 1506, 1521, 1523, 1526, 1529. Usually the math is pretty easy, especially when there's a lot of waypoints, because it happens just a couple of minutes here and there. So 33, 1537, and we can keep track of all this at least. Make sure we're staying on time. Bricks 1542, and we should be on the ground around 1550. So this is a really short flight. This is even way shorter than I had expected, honestly. Also helps that I bumped up the cost index. Hopefully you guys are keeping up with me back there. All right, so yeah, we're gonna plan on doing our arrival here. So you have control. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
All right, it's a little bit early, but I just want to make sure it doesn't sneak up on us, that's all. All right, so we've got the Bodega 3 RNAV arrival into San Francisco via Milbeck. Radar required, RNAV 1 DDR, GPS required. The routing constraints are all as published and already reviewed by me. Transition over to planning a quiet bridge visual to runway 28 right. If the chart will load. Every once in a while, it does not want to load. There it goes. Put in overlay mode, it loaded just fine. All right, so we're going to be heading southwestbound from Bricks, and we'll just have to watch our MSA here. So the MSA is actually pretty good. The highest one we've got is 4,500 within 25 miles. So we're aiming to cross Eddy at 6,000. We're going to be at Bricks at 11. So if we start a descent to 6,000 right there, we can time our turn just to go to Eddy at 6. SidB should be at 5,000. Let's make sure that altitude restriction's in there. 5,000 at SidB, just to make sure that we meet that restriction. And then we're supposed to be, when we turn final, at 2,500 feet. 1,800 feet at 6 miles final. All right, yeah. And we've got the VR ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the LNAV to get from Eddy, to get ourselves turned towards Eddy, towards SidB. After SidB, it's a 330 heading, so we'll engage heading mode after SidB. Make sure we've got the inbound course of 095 set on the course here. So let's actually set that right now. No, sorry, it is 275. Sorry, the inbound course is 275. It's 095 radial. So we'll fly that course inbound until we get to 6 DME from the airport. And then at 6 DME, we'll basically dodge over to a visual arrival. So at 6 DME, we'll dodge over to a visual arrival and or swap to and intercept the ILS. The loc is at 284. So we'll have to bring that up 284. And yeah, we'll fly that down to minimums. There is no minimum approach really on this because it's a visual approach. If we have to do a go around, we'll have to fly runway heading, watching for out for the terrain that is west of the field, because there is some higher terrain west of the field, so we may have to make a slight turn to the northwest or make an immediate right turn and back out over San Francisco Bay in the event of a missed approach. Yeah. Otherwise, that's how we're going to fly it. So 6,000, 5,000, heading 330, going down to 2,500. Intercept that 275 radial inbound until we get to 6 DME, and then hop over to the low core, just do it visually at that point. And what we may do is we may have the ILS backed up on number 2 just to kind of give us some visual reference. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll have the ILS up on number 2, and I can glance over and see how we're doing glide slope-wise from that guy. That's kind of my plan. All right, this is going to be interesting. All right, landing on runway 28 right in San Francisco. We're going to take a convenient left turn off the runway. We're going to do this with auto brake. we'll do it without a break too. Convenient left turn off the runway. We'll either be Tango or we might have to roll to Quebec. We'll hold short the inner runway until we're sure that there's nobody there, and then we'll have to find a gate for arrival in San Francisco. So let's have a quick look at, just check the other computer here. Alright, flight aware. And let's just search for flights. Portland to San Francisco. Let's see what the last Alaska flight went to here. So there's one that is on its way right now. And it is scheduled to roll up to gate Delta 7 in San Francisco. Let's see here. So Delta 7, I believe, is going to be west side of that central concourse. Or gates. Actually, nope. It's right here. It's almost the last one facing out right towards the runway intersection. Delta 7. So that's our target gate for San Francisco. So once we cross the runway, we'll go. We'll just taxi Alpha around to gate Delta 7. All right, terrain around San Francisco is a bit of an issue. There is high terrain south, east, and north of the airport, and also west of the airport for the go-around area. So there's a lot of high terrain. We'll have to make sure we do have terrain still up for the approach there. MSA around San Francisco, 5100 covers all sectors around San Francisco. Weather is supposed to be VFR day, light winds, operational, no MELs, NOTAMS. Let's just have a quick look at SimBriefPanel again here. Of course, the only problem with SimBriefPanel is it doesn't have bookmarks to get you quickly to where you need to be, but that's okay. We can make do. Destination alternates. So let's see here. Lots of NOTAMs for San Francisco. Great. SFO VOR, you unserviceable. Really? I just briefed the whole approach and the VOR is unserviceable. Read the NOTAMs first, then do the briefing. Okay. I guess we're changing the plans. Alright, so the San Francisco VOR is unserviceable. Let's see here. Link between Echo and approach N19 left. I have to kind of... Let's do this. Let's get these side by side so I can just make sure I know what I'm doing here in terms of closed taxiways. But it looks like we're going to have to revise our plan anyway. So we'll revise the approach plan for 28 right. Just because we can't use the VOR. Taxiway Lima between Echo and approach and 19th left. Okay, yeah, there, that's fine. Lima 2, Lima 1. Yep, that's fine. It's not going to impact us. Alpha 1, no. All this stuff down here doesn't impact us. Echo between 1 right, 19 left. And Charlie closed. It seems like a lot of stuff kind of at both ends kind of closed here. So a lot of stuff going on here. Things I'm looking for. Tango, Quebec, and Alpha. Anything about Tango, Quebec, and Alpha? These are the ones I'm expecting to use. I don't see anything about Tango, just centerline lighting involved in Quebec. Nothing too much there. Runways, so yeah, 1 right, 19 left, close. I don't have times on these. This is the only trouble with this system here. I think the SimBrief actual flight plan here should have times on it, right? No, doesn't actually have the times on it either? Oh, okay, alright. Okay, so we don't know when those runways are going to reopen. SIDS we're not so worried about, but approaches. ILS, look 28 left, 28 right. ILS or look 28 right, missed approach, climb to 2600 on 284, then climbing right, turn from the climb gradient 350 feet per nautical mile to 900 if unable to be climbed gradient procedures not applicable. So we do have some amendments here. This is probably again because the San Francisco VOR is offline. Yeah, this seems to be the gist of it. And ILS 19 left. Okay, so change of plans here. Does the tiptoe visual? Tiptoe visual does not need the VOR. It needs the DME technically to hit these spots, but we can probably. We don't actually have to track the VOR. I was looking forward to doing that too. That was going to be an interesting little challenge, and the VOR is offline. Okay. We will just make it work. Alright, so what we're going to do is SIDB, and we're going to put CHERA in there after SIDB. And then there's going to be a slight root discount, and that's fine. So SIDB at or above 5,000, CHERA, and then so now it's just all we need from our fix info here. We don't need the radial anymore. And we just need 9.2 and 6.9. Can I do decimals? I can, okay. Some aircraft don't allow you to do decimal distances for fixes. So 9.2, 6.9, there we go. Alright, so 9.2, we're supposed to be 2300, 6.9. So we're doing the tiptoe visual now to runway 28 right. Missed approach, see below. Okay, so radars require closely spaced visuals, approaches in progress, and vertical guidance from NavAid, log ISFO, 109.55, or IGWQ, that's us, 28 right, 111.7. Runway 28 right from CHERA, heading 310, and intercept the localizer. Pretty easy. So we fly Eddie, SIDB, CHERA, and then at CHERA, 310 heading, intercept the localizer. In the event of a go around runway 28 right, heading 280, climb, maintain 3,000, or as directed by ATC. So we don't have to worry about it. We're not doing the ILS. We'll just do the visual mist. 3,000, heading 280, straight ahead, essentially. Okay, well, that's a little easier. That was 283. It was 283, right? It was 284. Of course. 284. There it is. Okay, perfect. Alright, that was a long and convoluted briefing, wasn't it? Any questions?
Checked.
Any questions?
No questions.
That was a long and convoluted briefing, but we seem to have left the cloud deck behind us anyways. It's snowy in a few spots here, but it's not terrible. It's just setting up for the descent, then we're going to do this checklist here. Glad I started briefing this early, since I briefed the wrong approach. I have control.
You have control.
Yeah, that was a little bit more awkward of a briefing than I had anticipated or wanted. How are you guys doing back there? Are you guys going to do the same approach here? 28 right, Delta gate is Delta 7 if you want to park on either side or somewhere on that side of the terminal anyways. Yeah, it's nice to have some people to fly with, and if you guys got anything you want to talk about, I have to say some good stuff coming through the pipeline, so I'm so happy. First of all, a couple of airport news. The one that I'm really impressed with, finally, long last, Dallas Love. Bill Womack has been working on that thing for like 4 years. How to program the visuals in the A320. Good luck. Let me think here. How to program the visuals in the A320. At the end of the day. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think you're probably just going to have to create a discontinuity. So you're probably going to have to put in some waypoints after the arrival there. Put in the SIDB, what was it? Eddie, SIDB, and not that one. Did I not tag that one? Stupid me. Yeah, you'll probably have to just do that manually, and then just have a have the ILS with the discontinuity in there, and fly it by hand. I'd have to see it in front of me to sort of visualize it, but so this one, not this one. So yeah, I think you may need to just manually program in Eddie, SIDB, CHERA, and then you'll have a discontinuity after CHERA, and you'll just have to fly it in heading mode, and fly it in heading mode, and then activate a direct radial in to whatever the fix is on the approach there. So just for curiosity's sake here. Yeah, you won't, because you won't be able to program in a heading leg per se. So yeah, so you'll need to do you'll need to set up the arrival, program in this, and then you should be able to add those waypoints before seep in. So before seep in, I would make sure you have Eddie and SidB in there, and then you may be able to do the approach transition via Eddie, and then like I did, add a waypoint at the waypoint after SidB. Chira, and then when you add that waypoint, it should create a discon. Just leave that discon in there, and then when you get past Chira, pull heading, select heading 310 and pull, and then do a direct radial into the final approach fix, and then it'll intercept for you. You can still fly it in ILS mode. The idea is to fly these in ILS mode, but you don't need the IFR separation. Sounds like a plan. We'll make it one win. If in doubt, if it starts to come apart, just disconnect and hand fly. And at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing, is be ready to take over. That's Airbus's golden rule of number one is fly the aircraft first. If the automation is not doing what you want to do, take it back a notch. Here they are. This poster is all over all the training facilities nowadays. Golden rules for pilots. Number one, fly, navigate, communicate. In this order and with appropriate task sharing. So fly the airplane first if it's not navigated. If it's not doing these things, go back to the one. Number two, use the appropriate level of automation at all times. So again, and that goes right back to fly, navigate, communicate. If the automation is not doing what you want to do, take it down a notch. Either go from managed into selected, or from selected to manual flight if you have to. Understand the FMA at all times, and again, number four, take action if things do not go as expected. And it's funny that Airbus had to kind of publish its own version of these golden rules for pilots, because in the beginning, people were so... the airplane was so different from anything that they dealt with before. People coming from Boeings and whatnot, that they had a hard time kind of wrapping their head around how to operate an Airbus. So Airbus had to put this out and remind people, like, the basic order. It is a highly automated airplane. It's designed to be flown in managed mode. But if the managed mode is not doing what you want, if something's not programmed correctly or something's just coming off the rails, they had to really kind of explicitly tell people, take it down a notch. Just because it is a highly automated airplane and can be flown managed doesn't mean it has to be flown managed every minute of the day. But yeah, people, it's funny that Airbus had to put that out there. Pilots were not doing what they were supposed to. But Airbus also doesn't make it easy either. Airbus does not make it easy. You got to know that the volume of information about that airplane just blows me away. I've been trying to read through the manual, and it does. It just absolutely blows me away all the time, the volume of information in there. There is, just learning about the flight management system alone is about 1,200 pages. Just to learn how to program the management system, how to operate the MCDU, and all the different functions that are available through the MCDU. There's so much in there. And there's so many little gotchas too. This is the other thing, and one thing that bugs me a little bit about the Airbus is there's lots of gotchas for people who are not, I won't say not educated, but not up on what they're doing. And one of the big common examples of a really big gotcha in the Airbus that's not very well... it's not very well written about, is the dual rad-alt failure. The dual rad-alt failure in the Airbus is a really big deal, because a lot of stuff depends on the aircraft's altitude above the ground. You get a dual rad-alt failure, you lose all your knowledge of exactly where you are above the ground. You have an altimeter, but the Airbus depends on knowing how high it is above the actual ground level or underneath the aircraft, and not just the hypothetical ground based on, we think the airport's at this altitude. So there's some really wacky stuff that happens, and there's some stuff that's really not well documented. So if you get a double rad-alt failure in the Airbus, what you're going to see is a whole bunch of stuff is going to be indicated as unavailable. It's going to say Cat 2 is in op. It's going to say landing gear down, direct law, because normally the transition from normal law to direct law happens basically at the flare point. But because it doesn't know that when you're at 50 feet above ground, it has to just do it at some other marker. So as soon as the gear goes down, you're in direct law, which is that's there. When you get the dual rad-alt failure, that's there on the ECAM. The worst thing about the dual rad alt failure, and this is the really, really big gotcha, is that without two rad alts, without at least one rad alt providing information, you cannot do an ILS approach. You cannot couple a glide slope if both rad alts are failed. But it does not say that on the ECAM. On the ECAM it says category 2 inop. It doesn't say category 1 inop. So if you just read the ECAM and you don't know the system well enough, you kind of assume, okay, hey, I'll be able to fly an ILS. I can't fly a Cat 2, but I can fly a Cat 1. But you can't actually fly a Cat 1 because you can't actually arm the approach if there's no rad alt input. You have to fly either a low FBA or something else, and it reset MCP altitude. Yep. So it's very that's one of those kind of, I hate to say hidden failures, but the only place where you'll kind of find that is when it talks about coupling an approach. When it describes approach mode for the guidance panel, it mentions that briefly, that if you don't have a valid rad alt input, you can't go into glide slope mode. And it also mentions that in the notes of that ECAM, but it'll never come up on the ECAM. You have to go to the operations manual, read that whole ECAM section, and then only then will you get top of the set point there. Only then will you get will you find out that you won't be able to do an ILS. So that's one that really kind of bugs me a little bit about Airbus. And why couldn't they put it on the ECAM? Why can't they have the ECAM say Cat 1 unavailable, Cat 1 inop? It kind of, that's one that kind of blows my mind, because it says Cat 2 inop. Somebody actually, you know, there's enough information there that they can determine that you're not able to do Cat 2 approaches. But the fact you can't even do Cat 1 ILS, it's a little bit wacky. I like a lot of things about Airbus now, but that's one of those things. It's a real kind of a hidden gotcha. You've got to be very careful about some of these things. And there's a few things like that, notes that are in the manual that are nowhere else, that you'll never see on an ECAM. So if you don't get those notes in time, you'll never see this stuff. Did I never do the descent check? I was waiting for him to do stuff. Descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 0 feet. Recall checked. Order brake. Level 3. Landing data.
VREF 136. 0 feet for the minimums. Set and checked. Set and checked.
VREF 136. No DH set. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Descent checklist completed.
Yeah, I love the Airbus, but that's one of those things that you just sort of wonder about the Airbus. Yeah, I was so excited though to hear that Bill Womack had finally released his Dallas Love scenery. So I believe it's been released through iniBuilds, I think. He's been working on this thing for like 4 or 5 years, and it's a fantastic little airport. It's very busy for a relatively small airport because, of course, as most of you probably know, it is the home of Southwest. It was their original airport that they operated out of, and it's still very busy to this day, with not just with Southwest, but with a lot of corporate traffic as well. It's very close to downtown Dallas. Downtown Dallas is a very big business hub, so there's a lot of corporate traffic coming and going from Dallas Love. And I don't think there's ever been a quality model done of Dallas Love in any sim. MSFS, P3D. Bill Womack was originally working on it for P3D, and I think it just taken him so long to do it and do a really good job that eventually he had to kind of pivot and target it at MSFS instead of targeting it at P3D anymore. So, but it's finally out. That's high on my shopping list. I think that's great scenery, and especially, again, I like the 737. I like operating the 737. It's not a perfect airplane, but I like operating it. Southwest is a big operator. They do a lot of flights in and out of Dallas Love, so being able to have Dallas Love as a good destination is a great piece of scenery. So that's one that it's been a long overdue in the flight sim world. It's finally out there. You can go and buy it now, and I probably will go pick it up at some point. I am looking forward to operating that in and out of that airport. It's definitely on my shopping list. The other one that I'm excited for as well, finally, is iniBuilds is doing JFK. And I've noticed a little bit of a trend here with iniBuilds airports, in that they are redoing a lot of the bespoke airports in MSFS. They've decided that this is their target market, and I think it's a good market. The bespoke airports are good. They're good enough that you can kind of get by with them. You can fly in and out of them. You don't feel like you're you're really giving up a whole lot of quality. You've got some customized buildings, but iniBuilds just takes it to a whole nother level. And JFK was another one of those. Like again, like I showed you just like 20 minutes ago on the SimBrief flight plan. There's a lot of people fly in and out of JFK, and it's one of just like the most iconic airports in the world. And certainly Simmers tend to gravitate a little bit more towards iconic airports. So the fact that like there was no good JFK out there for a long time was a little bit disappointing. Again, the version in the sim is not terrible. It's okay, but it's not great. There's a lot of issues with it. A lot of gates are not labeled correctly, and that causes issues for software like GSX and things like that. So good to see that someone is finally coming out with that. So iniBuilds is finally coming out with that, and they really have kind of come from nowhere in the last 3 or 4 years and really made a name for themselves as a top quality, top-notch developer. And they've been rewarded handsomely for it. A lot of people have purchased their products. Asobo got them to build the A310 for free. Not that they built it for free, but to be included for free for all MSFS users. Like and that airplane was a fantastic airplane. For a default airplane, it changed the game for what we think about default airplanes now. And Asobo has really started to do that now. It's great to see that. Asobo has changed the game of what a default sim airplane can be. You look at the Citation Longitude or the CJ4 that are included now with MSFS, and how detailed the avionics in these aircraft are. Way worlds above what you normally would expect from a default aircraft. They've just changed the definition of what a default aircraft can and should be, and in a good way, in a really good way. The only trouble is, of course, they set the bar really high now. I don't know if it's going to work in the long run, but they set the bar really high. But it's great to see that they are still continuing. They said they've got a lot of products in the development pipeline. I think they said they're up to 25 or 27 employees now, 25 or 27 developers working at iniBuilds on various products. So I have noticed that the tempo of releases from iniBuilds has sort of been building up and up. Like they've got these airplanes in development, they've got airport scenery in development all at the same time. There's multiple channels, multiple pipelines going on, and it shows it. And the thing is, they don't settle for half done. And I think that's what people appreciate. There was an issue in the beginning with Heathrow. People were not impressed with aspects of their original Heathrow scenery, but they took the customer critiques to heart. They went back to the drawing board. They redesigned it. They reviewed it, and they added a lot of detail where there was detail missing before. And as a result, I think the reviews went a lot better in the long run. So, you got to give people time. You got to give developers time to evolve and change. This is not an easy business to get into. There's a lot of expectations of a new developer. The bar has been set pretty high, and developers just keep setting it higher and higher with every product of what level of detail you expect to see, how good the textures have to be, the modeling, and how well it runs. And there's a lot of this, and the developers are constantly pushing each other. They're constantly pushing the boundaries, and as a result, they're pushing each other. Each one wants to, what was considered bleeding edge and bleeding edge, and like, well, not everyone's going to do that. A year ago is all of a sudden, well, now everybody has to do this. Everyone has to have PBR materials. Everyone has to have visible, detailed terminal interiors. Like it just the standard is being pushed higher and higher, and iniBuilds is one of the companies that's up there doing it. Is everyone always going to succeed? Absolutely not. And I read these things, and people get mad at developers that don't do as good a job. Maybe there's one particular airport where they fall down and it didn't quite come out as nice as people would have expected. But then the way some people just tear into them like everything is God-given. Just because somebody puts this product out there, it has to be perfect every single time, and you have the right to criticize everything. Like, unless you're a developer yourself, you have no idea how much time and effort goes into some of these products. And I read some of the criticisms. It's like, guys, honestly, if you really are that unhappy with the product, don't buy it. Nobody's making you buy any of these products. First of all, you vote with your dollar. If you don't think it's worthwhile, then just don't spend any money on it. But give them positive feedback. Give the developers feedback of what you'd like to see. A lot of them will listen. A lot of them will update their scenery at least once or twice, if not, more often, based on expectations, based on what the customers expect to see. So don't be afraid to, voice your opinion, but voice it in a positive way. It's not bad scenery, but I would have liked to have seen this. Case in point, like SimBrief, like I made a number of suggestions to improve their new interface. Like their interface stayed the same for about 10 years, and then they did a new improvement to it. I made a number of suggestions. Most of them were taken to heart. Most of them were tried out. And even the developers, like, you know what, that looks a lot better the way you suggested it. I'm going to go with that. Sometimes you just need to see things a different way. You get so in when you're so close to your product, it's hard to sometimes see the overall image and impact. You're so used to seeing it a certain way, and then sometimes you just need that outside view to kind of, hey, you know what, it would look better if I did this. So please, guys, be upfront with the developers, but be also positive. Don't tell them what you'd like to see, but do it in a way that don't act like. I see some people, the way they comment, a title is probably the best word. They think that they deserve the ultimate scenery every single time, and it's not always the case, And these guys they're humans too. They make mistakes. They're trying things out. They're trying to put out the best product they can, but they make mistakes as well. So help them out. Tell them what you'd like to see, but at the same time, be patient and forgiving. Let people make mistakes. We all stumble. We all stumble and make the occasional error. Let people see it. Let people learn from their mistakes. Don't assume that just because it's terrible right now, it has to be terrible forever. Things can be changed. Things can be updated. Software can be changed and updated. Anyways, but I am excited. iniBuilds has got some great scenery out there. I'm looking forward to one day adding their LAX. I have a hard time with the performance of the LAX in the Sim, so I would like to see some. I would like to see that other LAX in my Sim. I think it's. Thank you. I think it's going to be a nice improvement, and JFK is another one where, yeah, it would be great to see a really big improvement in the JFK scenery. It's not terrible the way it is, but it's not great. It could definitely use some improvement. I don't think I ever said it. But transition set altimeter 3021.
3021 set, passing 1,200.
We'll look-see here at San Francisco. So there's the three of us coming in from the north. There's one guy on the ground getting ready to go. So I don't think we're going to have too many conflicts. We'll just follow each other around onto final. So I'm just flying overhead. There's the airport right down there. But basically we have to fly overhead and descend on the south side, because with the departures, most of the departures go out north over San Francisco Bay to kind of mitigate the noise. Keep the noisy departure phase over the water. So pretty much I find the arrivals always end up being vectored south of the field. Alright, there's the level at 11,000. Have to stay here till Bricks, then at Bricks we'll start down to 6,000 for Eddie. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. You can see there's my fixes. So this vector leg's going to take us right out there. We'll just sort of descend for 6,000. When we look like we're going to hit 6,000, we'll go direct to Eddie and back inbound. For a second here, just for the possible screenshots. All right, just about over Brick, so I should be ready for this chop and drop here momentarily. So level 11,000. There's Bricks. I take it out of VNav. Let's go level change. 6,000 feet is set. speed 250 knots, retard. MCP speed. Approach checklist.
Approach checklist. Altimeters.
3021 set.
3021 set. Approach checklist complete.
I love the super short Boeing approach checklist. Altimeter is good? Yeah? Okay, you're good. Alright, definitely daylight. We can probably eliminate all this panel lighting. It was definitely needed before, but we're not so important now. A little bit of haze down here. It's a little bit cool, but it's not too bad. We're going to need the anti-haze at all, so there's the arc for leveling off at 6,000. This is going to work out just fine because we'll probably hit about 7,500. We'll start that turn inbound to Eddie and we'll won't be too much of a problem.
$10,000. Cabin crew prepare for landing.
Every once in a while you see those little square tiled gaps. Kind of annoying. What are you going to do? Alright. I did put my health back up there. There I am. Alright, we're almost there already. That was a short flight to San Francisco. It really was. And I'll log off for the day, but
Ladies and gentlemen, for your safety and the safety
other
of
stuff to
those
do,
around
but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And like I said, that next leg is going to be epic. Before I log off, we'll try and calculate a rough time. We may even have to try and schedule for a day where we can pick up a...
traffic, aircam, air call, 537, push back your stop at San Fransisco.
It's been a pleasure looking after you today. On behalf of your crew,
Make a call in a couple minutes here so we can turn back inbound. Yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, I've forgotten already. Yeah, we'll right when we're done after we land, we'll do a quick little, just a tentative plan, just to give me an idea of how much time we're looking for to get to Kennedy from San Francisco. Because this is going to be a long flight. That was one of the other reasons too why today I picked up a 737-800 instead of 700. I want to fly this to San Francisco because I think we're going to need the extra capacity of the 800 to get all the way to Kennedy. That's a long, long flight. Alright, we're losing altitude slowly here. Alright. So next will be Eddie. Let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a staff of the descent, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright
Just give it
position.
another
Make sure your seat belts
60 seconds at most, and then we'll turn it
and
towards
all
Eddie.
carry-on luggage is stowed underneath the seat in front of you or in the overhead bin. Please turn off all electronic devices until we are safely parked at the gate. Thank you.
Alright, that should be good enough. Execute that now, or direct Eddie. What I could also do to make this turn a little tighter is bring the speed back. Speed back to like 210 even. That'll help make the turn a little tighter to get us into Eddie. Kind of give up our altitude loss for a second there, but that's okay. Graph charts because I can't remember the heading. I've already forgotten the heading. I think it was 301. I could probably preset it at this point. As it slowly loads this whole thing here. Alright. It was from Jira heading 310 to intercept. Okay, so I was close. A little dyslexia. So it'll be a heading of 310 after Jira. So it's LNAVing inbound to Eddie. Now we got 210 knots. I need a little help to get down here to cross Eddie at 6, but it's actually not too bad.
1,000 to level.
Roger. This also seems like this might be a really good kind of screenshot here for the title card. Just zoom myself out enough because it's the top and bottom borders. Kind of cover up a lot of stuff sometimes. Just trying to find that nice spot there. Okay, so there's alt acquire. MCP speed. Flaps 1.
Speed checked.
San Francisco traffic, Alaska
Flaps
206 crossing Eddy for a tiptoe visual, runway 28 right. Flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Speed checked. Flaps 5 set.
One of these days I gotta figure out where that Apple headquarters is. It's somewhere down here. There's a whole bunch of companies that have their headquarters around here somewhere. It's a giant circle.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
Alright, so after Chira, it's 310 heading. We want to be 2300 at 9.2 DME.
San Francisco traffic air call.
Heading cell. And we can get the localizer up because we don't need the VOR, that's for sure. Gear down.
Gear down.
Keep the speed at 180 for now. Flaps 15.
180 set. Speed checked.
San Francisco traffic down at 242 is commencing to so visual
Flaps
28
15, sir.
right at Eddy.
Loke. Glide
Radio
slope.
altimeter alive. Cabin crew, take your seats. Checked, checked.
Just approach altitude 3,000 feet is set. 75 here. San Francisco traffic, Alaska 206, 7 mile final, runway 28 right. Usually want you to stay at like 180 knots until you get to 5 DME and then suddenly drop everything. So that's what we're going to do. We'll keep it to basically 180 until we get to 5 DME here. There's no DME coming from this localizer for some reason. Okay, we got enough arcs up here. Alright, VRF is 136. Alright, that's basically 5 miles final right there. Flaps 25.
Speed checked. Flaps 25.
Flaps 30.
Speed checked.
San Francisco traffic air call
Landing checklist.
537.
Stand by.
Rounding up and taking off runway
Flaps 30
28
set.
to left.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 30. Green light.
Landing checklist completed.
Alright, I'm going to clear us to land, so taxi lights on. I see the AirCal take position on 28 left. Good thing we did the approach for 28 right. It's kind of why I wanted 28 right, was just to sort of be able to make that...
1,000 feet. Not stable.
I mean, not stable. Something's not set up properly. Everything's stable. We got gear down, flaps 30, speed brakes armed, everything's done. Danger mode, danger mode. The pilot is flying. Oh, it's a beautiful, calm morning, though. Alright. Needs a tiny bit of input from me, but nothing too much. San Francisco traffic.
500 feet.
Alaska 206 short final, 28 right. Stable. Cleared.
Speed brake up. Reverse is normal. Auto brake disarmed. 60 knots.
Maybe it's me, but the auto brake
San Francisco traffic air call 537. Airbound passing 2,700 feet.
San Francisco traffic, Alaska 206, clear of 28 right, crossing 28 left to the terminal. I assume you guys are not on final for 28 left. You guys are going to do the same thing as me and do 28 right. I'm making that assumption right now because you're not answering, which is fine. Just looking around. Okay, he's on final. Get across in a hurry. Okay to clean up.
Roger.
Ladies and gentlemen, for your safety and the safety of those around you, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and keep the aisles and exits clear until
Checked.
the seatbelt signs are turned off. Take care when opening overhead lockers, as items may have moved during our
The
flight.
requested position is
Mobile phones
already
may now be
assigned to
kept on
another
board, and
aircraft.
smoking is not permitted inside the terminal. Thank you for choosing to fly with us. It's been our pleasure looking after you today. On behalf of your crew, we wish you a safe onward journey and hope to see you again soon.
Start the APU.
Starting the APU.
Alright, so it says that the gate's not available. I just want to come around the corner and see what's there. See if there's actually an airplane there or not. I can't see you guys at all on final just because of the haze. Alright, what other gates are here? It's a little early. Yeah, Delta 6 or Delta 8. So if I can't kick Delta 7, if there's somebody there, I'll move to Delta 8 if I need to. But I see some guys parked there, so it says it wasn't available yet, but it looks like it's available to me. Oh, I see somebody landing. Oh, I see you both landing. Formation landing. Nice. the funny thing about flying together is you usually don't see each other until moments apart. And Chokri 471, thank you so much for that. That did work out pretty well. I found that the key to this airplane is that the auto thrust is just
APU
not
on the buses.
trustworthy. So I usually disengage the auto thrust now at like 500 feet and just hand fly the thrust from there, because a couple times it has not brought the thrust to idle when it's supposed to, and it just screwed my landing completely. Alright, so it looks like Delta 7 is available to me here, so here we go. Lights and doors.
Check. Cabin crew disarm doors and cross-check.
San Francisco traffic, United 242, it's clear 28 right crossing, 28 left, taxiing echo.
One thing you notice about this one that looks really good is just the amount of ground clutter.
3
This is what an
minutes.
airport looks like. Airports have ridiculous amounts of ground equipment parked everywhere. You see some of these models and they have great buildings, but they look so lifeless because there's nothing parked around the building. This is realistic. This is what airports look like. Oh, I've got GSX and MSFS are both trying to marshal me in. Well, I went with GSX. Okay, he's got those on the buses. I can go ahead and get the seatbelts off. Please remember to submit your flight. Thank you, I will. And the first thing they'll do as soon as they see the aircraft shut down here. Drive through the tug.
The boarding requested.
Shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps off. Probe heat off. Hydronic panel set. Flaps.
0. Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start lever.
Idle detent. Oh, sorry. Cut off. Cut off.
Weather radar.
Off.
Off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Alright, he's going to stop listening to me, and we made it, guys. Welcome. And there you are. And where did the last one go? A little bit. Oh, here way over there. Alright, cool. But we're all here. This is great just to see 2 Alaska airplanes together here, so I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this as well, because it's always kind of fun. It's fun when we get to hang out together, and that's the funny thing too, is that like you don't see anybody until you get to the other airport. That's the fun part of it. So take a quick screenshot there of that. But there we go. We got that done, and I'll put myself back up here. Yeah, auto throttle in the F737 doesn't auto disengage. It doesn't, but it is supposed to have a retard function, and it is supposed to when you hit I think 50 feet or 30 feet, it is supposed to retard the thrust levers to idle. RNAV approaches, it's notoriously bad at doing this. The PMDG 737 is very bad at doing this RNAV approaches, but even a couple times on ILSs, it has got me. I did have to go around in Los Angeles like 3 or 4 flights ago, where the auto thrust did not go to idle when we hit the when we started the flare, and we just started floating down the runway. Got a huge balloon going. I managed to get the auto thrust off and pull the thrust levers to idle, but by then, that time we ballooned so much and then started coming back down. I'm like, no, there's no way I can save this. So it can be a disaster sometimes. It's unfortunate because it's a good system, but because you can't override the thrust levers by actually grabbing the thrust quadrant and moving it back and forth like you can in real life, I need to disengage the auto thrust. And this is one of the things I like about the having moving thrust levers, is you can grab those thrust levers, and if the auto thrust is not doing what you want, and you can see what it's trying to do because it's moving the thrust levers, you can just grab them and reef them to where they actually need to be. I do like that part of an auto thrust system. I don't like the Airbus way of just the thrust levers never move, and the FADEX always generating it. It's a little bit. I'm having a little bit of trouble letting go of that. That not having a real yoke in the Airbus, just having a side stick is a bit awkward as well. But anyways, yeah, so we got this done. We can hit submit on our flight. And we have one leg left to do. Boom. We Think about it for a second. It's got to send it off to the server. Boom, it's done. So we are now in San Francisco. We have one last leg to do for Season 9 of A Pilot's Life. And when I finish this this season, I think we'll be up to 89 episodes of A Pilot's Life I've done live on Twitch here. So this one is going to be a long one, though. That is, what is that here? Should say here somewhere. Does not say how many miles. There it is, 2246 miles. 2,200 miles. It's going to take a ridiculous... I'm going to really have to kind of work to find a day where this works. Probably have to plan on a good, strong tailwind. I'm just going to program this in right now, just for the heck of it. Just to give me the idea of how much time I need to set aside for this. So Boeing 737-800. I want to do like max cruise. Can I plan it at just Mach 8.0? And let's see if... let's just give me an idea, even today, just a curiosity. Yeah, you get a little bit of a tailwind here. You'd almost do better to take a slightly more southerly route. It may add a few miles, but you'll pick up that jet stream tailwind. And this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to plan on a jet stream tailwind here. All these routes are northerly routes, and I need a southerly route. Anyways, let's just generate it, because I'm just curious to see how long it's going to take. Almost recreated Alaska 214, but we got the visual done. Or Asiana 214. Approach stabilized by flares, SOP, right? I don't think that's supposed to be the way it is. Yeah. Kind of want to have that by... There's new philosophies that are coming in with the stable approach. I'll swing right back to that. I'm just going to look at this here, 4 hours and 49 minutes. So pretty much we're going to need a 5 hour and 10 minute block. We're going to need a 5.5 hour stream. So I can probably do this on a weekday, but it's going to be darn tight. Now, if we can pick up a good tailwind, get a good average tailwind, then that'll help a lot. But yeah, we'll need to watch where the winds are and really ride that tailwind. At least we're eastbound, so we should be able to ride that good strong tailwind. There is changes happening to SOPs now. The previous SOPs that a lot of airlines had, where it was like 1,000 feet, you had to be stable, and going around after 1,000 feet, or even 500 feet, a lot of airlines found that was just not realistic. And because it was not realistic, people just were not abiding by it. And it's not that anyone was feeling particularly rebellious, but the amount of go-arounds that would have had to have been done, because approaches are often still not quite stable by 1,000 feet, though they are close. Yeah, a lot of airlines said with the amount of go-arounds that would have had to be done would have been very practical. So a lot of airlines are kind of moving to a sliding scale now, where the configuration has to be done by 1,000 feet, but the speed does not have to be, the speed and the tracking do not. What is this person doing way up here? The speed and the tracking do not have to go right at 1,000 feet. If the tracking and the speed are a little bit off, as long as they're trending towards being on target by 500 feet, then 500 feet is the target for speed and glide slope and localizer tracking to be at 500 feet. And even then, there are some minor excursions allowed as long as it's going to be nailed by 200 feet. So instead of being like just a set gate, the idea is now that the airlines are kind of more making it into like a cone shape, where at 1,000 feet, you have some latitude. You need to be fully configured, but you've got some latitude on the speed, you've got some latitude on the loc and the glide slope. As long as you think you're going to have it set by 500 feet, you're allowed to come in, and then at 500 feet, they really want you to be on there. But again, they'll still give you a little bit of latitude as long as you believe the trend is 200 feet. So 1,000 is the configuration gate, 500 is the speed and stabilization gate, and 200 is what's known as the go-around gate. If anything's not at the correct parameter by 200 feet, then we go around. And what the airlines have found is that the compliance rate is so much higher when they make this a little bit more realistic. Rather than make this hard 1,000-foot limit, you have to be 100% stable below 1,000 feet at all times. It just doesn't happen in the real world very often. It does, but as often as not, there's some instability below 1,000 feet. So because it was so many instances of people not being stable below 1,000 feet, people just sort of disregarded it as a great hypothetical, and really unstable will go around. So when the airlines started to sort of shift into, okay, well, we're going to give you kind of like, these are the kind of the criteria at the various gates, check them, and if it's not working, then go around at any point in time. The compliance rate went way up as soon as they kind of made it a little bit more practical. So sometimes there's something to be said for kind of going and looking at the real world and how do things happen in the real world. Anyways, that was tons of fun. I'm glad I got this in. I'm sorry we didn't do a stream last week. I was away literally all last week, so I never had a chance. And of course, we crossed the pond on the weekend. Keep an eye open, guys. The Cross the Pond streams will launch on YouTube probably in another day or so. I'm just sort of rewatching them, and some of the stuff that happened, I'm just sort of scratching my head that you get so involved in it, and it's nice to kind of sit back and watch it after the fact and look stuff over after the fact. And I'm doing a self-critique. I did not, my performance as a controller was not perfect by any means. I can see places where I did the wrong thing, I made the wrong choice, and I have to learn from that in the future. And that's one of my goals, is to learn from that. But it was tons of fun anyways. It was 4 hours of super, well, about a half an hour to 40 minutes of boredom, followed by three and something hours of like incredible craziness, but as always. But it was lots of fun, and I hope to participate in more events in the future as my schedule's become a little bit more fixed and routine. Hopefully I can do that. But anyways, yeah, stay tuned to the Discord, guys. I'm going to hope to have that stream up next week. Or hope to have that long haul stream maybe next week on Monday, if all goes according to plan, or possibly even Wednesday. We'll see how things go, but we're going to need a good, solid 5.5 hours of streaming, close to 6 hours of streaming to do it. So, yeah, bring bring lots of coffee. Bring a good book to read on the way, bring a pillow, bring something. But yeah, if you guys watch that stream, it's going to be a long one. It's going to be great. It's going to be tons of fun. It'll be a great way to end this season. And I got lots of good stuff to talk about. Travis, I know you had stuff you want me to talk about. I just saw this flight was so short, so I'm saving it for that long haul. We got lots of stuff we can talk about. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Tuesday, right? Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Hope to see you guys out there on the VATSIM skies real soon. And thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kyle, for flying with me, and whoever was the other one in the other Alaska 320. If that was you, Nuclear Jet, I'm not sure, because it's just your controller ID on there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for flying with me. It's been, yeah, the other one. Okay. I tried to guess. Yeah, JFK is going to be lit. I'm not going to probably, the iniBuilds is not going to release in time, and I wasn't going to use it anyways because I think probably iniBuilds will be a little bit hefty. But one thing about iniBuilds I like is that they do have configuration options. So you can, if you have a lower end system, like I do have a little bit lower end, you can take out some of the ground clutter, you can take back some of the stuff, and really kind of tweak your performance so that you can have really, really deep. Sure. You can have really high levels of detail if you don't. If you have a good computer, but if you can't handle the high level detail, you can still have a good airport while still maintaining some performance. Anyways, yeah, it's a great flight, guys. Thank you so much for doing that. We'll see you guys all out there real soon, and stay tuned for the next stream, hopefully next week, if all goes according to plan. Take care. See you then.